Hi everyone, and welcome to ISU's first digital open house. Of course, this isn't the first time that we've hosted an online information event, but this time we've decided to round up several key members of the ISU team to get you answers to all of the questions that you might have about our programs and how ISU can help get your career in the space sector off the ground. My name is Dane Colt, and I'll be the moderator for this session, and I'll be helping you at home to get all of your questions answered. Now, we want this session to be as interactive as possible, so please send us your questions at any time during the session via the chat, and we'll respond to those questions during our dedicated Q&A session after hearing from each of our panelists. Right now, I'm standing in Pioneer Hall at our central campus in Strasbourg in France. Not only is Strasbourg an international city and known as the capital of Europe, it's also just a great place to be if you're ever interested in coming to visit us here in person. We're about to head up to the library where the rest of our panelists are waiting. So let's head on upstairs and see if we can track them down. Follow me. So here I am in our library where our on-campus students can check out books, access our online resources catalog, or just find a comfortable place to sit, work, and study. Hey Geraldine, how was Oxford?
Hi, it was great.
Geraldine Moser is the lead of our executive space courses, which are held regularly all over the world. So I hear you had a good event?
Yes, with a nice turnout. And some really interesting lectures and site visits also. It was the first time that we held an executive space course in Oxford, the UK. It was also the first time we hosted an executive space course focusing solely on medicine and health in space. And by the way, we had not just one, but 3 astronauts in attendance as participants. So I really look forward to talking more about ISU's executive education. Get started.
Good. We look forward to hearing about it. Thanks. Thank you. I think I saw Nassim over there. So Nassim Beauvais is our head of admissions and alumni affairs. I'm sure you've got lots of questions about how to fund your studies here at ISU, and he's the guy to ask. Hey, Nassim.
Hey, Dave. By the way, besides funding and scholarships, I'd also like to speak a bit about our alumni network to give you an idea of what kind of careers await our graduates.
Good. Yeah, sounds great. Have you seen Claudia, by the way?
I believe she's up there.
Let's go find her. Claudia Esguirre comes to us from NASA, where she was specializing in ground systems and launch infrastructure. Today, she's the director of our Space Studies program, or what we call the SSP. The SSP is a program which is held once a year in a different location all over the world. This year, the SSP is going to be held in Houston, Texas, in close collaboration with Rice University and NASA's Johnson Space Center. Hey, Claudia.
Hey, Dane.
How's it going?
Good. I'm just working on the SSP curriculum. We got some really exciting things planned for our participants next year.
Awesome. I think we're really looking forward to hearing all about those activities. Suyin Tan, our dean, and Nicola Peter are both downstairs. So I think we can head down and we'll get the session started.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the text. The text is not the...
All right. Now that we're all in one place, I think we can get started. Also joining us is our dean and vice president of academic affairs and research, Suyin Tan. Suyin comes to us from the University of Waterloo in Canada, where she was specializing in satellite operations. Is that right, Suyin?
That's right, Dane. And now I'm very happy to be teaching and conducting research at ISU in addition to carrying out my responsibilities as dean.
Well, we're happy to have you with us. We also have Nicola Peter here with us this evening, or this afternoon, or this morning, depending on where you are. Nicola comes to us from the European Space Agency, or ESA, and has been working for ISU as our International Relations Coordinator and Space Policy and Law Faculty Lead. Nicola's already been doing some great work for us as far as international relations are concerned, which we think will open up a number of scholarship opportunities for students as early as this upcoming school year. So welcome to you, Nicola.
Thanks, Jan. Also, welcome to all of you, future participants of ISU programs, as well as families and friends to our digital open house. ISU is the world's premier higher education institution dedicated to space and the only institution entirely committed to educating the next generation of space professionals. Our programs, and you will see that today, prepare students and future space professionals with a curriculum that covers all aspects of space affairs, while providing the strong interdisciplinary background needed to succeed in the sector today. We are privileged to have established many unique relationships with a larger variety of industry and government partners around the globe. These relationships allow us to maintain the most up-to-date programs covering the diverse needs of the space sector, but also they provide us with the recognition and networking opportunities that are also essential to finding a job after your studies. Before letting my fellow panelists tell you more about our individual programs or admission requirement, I would like just to say a few minutes to give you an idea of what ISU is all about and how our programs can help you to achieve our goals. When considering the choices of educational programs, there are often two questions that individuals should ask themselves. First, am I learning what I need for my future? And second, will the institution help me to get the future I want? At ISU, the answer to those two questions are yes and yes. ISU can be relied upon to deliver on the quality of its programs and to provide individuals with pathways into the space sector. And in uncertain times, it's important to rely on proven experience and quality. This is what ISU offers since we were founded more than 36 years ago. ISU helps you to get a head start for your career in space. Our curricula are unique and serve a compass to guide today's generation and are constantly evolving to adapt to future needs. ISU's academics can be summarized by what we like to call the 3 I's: international, intercultural, and interdisciplinary. The 3 words guide all of our lectures, workshops, and individual and group assignments. The reason for this is because the 3 I's are present in just about everywhere in the sector. International cooperation and intercultural exchanges are vital to the development of space activities, and the nature of those activities require a solid background in a huge variety of academic subjects. ISU is the place to learn about space. An education at ISU gives you a complete picture of the sector and a space for debate and discussion, as well as insight into research and entrepreneurship. ISU offers a diversity of talent flow into the space sector and values a diversity of voice and welcome people from a variety of background. Whether your education background is in the humanities or engineering or science, the space sector needs you. Coming to ISU will allow you to learn, thrive, and launch your career in the space sector, and for some maybe even literally go to space, as some of our alumni have done. At ISU and in our program, you will meet big picture thinkers, passionate about their ideas, and form lifelong partnerships and friendships. An ISU class has diverse intentional candidates that can learn, thrive, and advance their career and pursue their dream. At ISU, you will meet fellow students from all around the world and from all walks of life: engineers, scientists, business people, lawyers, doctors, even sociologists or other humanities majors. Those individuals go on to become future successful entrepreneurs, head of space agencies, astronauts. The ISU Central Campus faculty draws of over 100 years of collective experience in the sector and includes a multicultural and multilingual teams. For instance, during the SSP or the MSS program, we have more than 130 lecturers from roughly 30 countries coming to teach and network with our participants. Those lecturers come from academia, space agency, space industry, research center. Most people who enter the space industry do so in 2 ways. First is for students to find an internship that provide an opportunity to learn, but which they can often turn into a permanent job. This is common with our master students, who often find a job even before graduating. The second is through professional development programs like our Space Studies program, the SSP Executive Education like the Executive Space course or the Space Crash course. These are often good entry points to the field and provide excellent networking opportunities. These courses are designed to help professionals to enter the field to get a 360-degree view of space in a shorter format, with programs that last between 1 and 8 weeks. ISU will thus help you to launch your career in space through an extensive alumni network. The networking opportunities provided by our program, as well as through internship opportunities for our master program. ISU is the gateway for creating new connections with your peer, and as alumni, you enter into one of the largest space networks, if not the biggest space network, with more than 5,600 country alumni worldwide. As I said this before, these alumni include entrepreneurs, head of agencies, or private company managers. These individuals recognize the value of ISU provided to them and are eager to hire fellow graduates. But ISU will not only help you working in the sector, it will change your way of thinking about space and your life. ISU is life-changing because the ISU community goes beyond professional relationships. It's a tight-knit community where lifelong friendships are made. ISU is more than a university. It's a place for ideation, access to world-class experts, and true mentorship, and a supportive community. ISU, despite its relative age, has already left a lasting mark on the space sector. Today, there is an entire generation of ISU graduates in the space sector. Some of you dreamt of a career in space when growing up. Some of you it looked like a fantasy. Now it's getting closer to reality. And for those joining ISU, it's just a matter of time before those dreams become real. This is what we wish all of our student participants of our programs and activities. Talent doesn't respect geography, but too often opportunities do, but not at ISU. Our partnership with a variety of industries and agencies allow us to help with scholarship to make opportunities available to many. Do not be intimidated if you are not specialized yet. If space is something that interests you and is something you think you would enjoy working in, then come to ISU. ISU will help to find your place in the industry. It's often said that a journey of 1,000 kilometers or miles begins with one single step. The first step is hard, but start your journey in space, start it at ISU, so that you will reach the destination you aspire to.
Thanks very much, Nicolas, for your introduction. Now, before we get going any further, I thought we could take a quick look at our agenda for this afternoon, evening, morning session, wherever it is that you are. So the first thing that we're going to do today is take a more in-depth look at our three main programs. That is to say, our Masters in Space Studies, which we'll hear a little bit more about from our Dean Su-Yin. We'll also hear more about our Space Studies program that's going to be hosted this summer in Houston, Texas from Claudia. And finally, we'll hear a little bit more about our ESCs, or our Executive Space courses. But we don't want to do all of the talking here. Of course, we want to hear from you. As I said earlier, we want this session to be as interactive as possible. And so we'd like to invite, for example, one of our own students, Ollie, to join us during this session, who will be able to tell us a little bit more about what it's like attending the MSc here in Strasbourg, and of course what it's like to be living here in Strasbourg. And we also want to hear from you. So at some point we're going to be launching a poll so that we can get a little bit more information about where it is that you're coming from. And we also want to receive your questions as much as possible, because we will have a dedicated Q&A session towards the end of this session. So please send us your questions that we'll be able to respond to towards the end. Now, of course, this is just the beginning of what we hope will be a much more in-depth discussion. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us by email so that we can keep this conversation going. So without further ado, I'd like to invite our panelists to give us a little bit more information, starting with our master's program, as I said. So Su-Yin, as Dean of our university, I think you're very well placed to give us a little more information about these programs. And so I'd like to give you the floor.
Great, thanks very much, Dean. So hello everyone, and welcome to ISU's Digital Open House. As Dean and Vice President of Academics and Research of ISU, I'm delighted that you've taken an interest in getting to know our programs. It's really challenging to summarize what ISU exactly is within such a short period of time, and also in this online format, but nevertheless, we're going to try our best. We also encourage you to visit ISU in Strasbourg, France, and in Central Campus, or else join one of our many programs around the world. In fact, some of our alumni have joined multiple programs before because, hey, why not? ISU has something for everyone, and we are a highly inclusive community. We recognize that some of you have been space enthusiasts all of your lives or already work in this sector, but some of you might be brand new to space, interested in learning more, or would like to transition to a career in the sector. If you're in any of these categories above, let me assure you that ISU is the right place to be. We have programs available for everyone. So I've been asked to speak about the master's program in space studies, but near the end, I would also like to address the impact that ISU has had on my own life and to share some personal advice with all of you. So first of all, ISU's master's program in space studies is truly a one-of-a-kind program. It covers all aspects of space and is highly interdisciplinary in nature. If you would like to take a deeper dive into learning about space and build a career as a space professional, this is definitely the program for you. The master's provides you with all of the knowledge and skills that you need to succeed in the rapidly evolving space sector. We offer both a shorter 12-month or 1-year program and a longer 18-month program. The difference between the 1-year program is that this program requires an internship of 3 to 6 months, while the longer 18-month program requires completing a thesis paper and also awards a Master's of Science or MSc degree. The MSc is also accredited by ASIN, which is a prestigious and specialized accreditation agency. So I'd like to give you an overview of the master's curriculum. In the first semester, the master's program starts off with 2 modules focusing on learning fundamental knowledge and interdisciplinary aspects of space. The second semester focuses on acquiring in-depth knowledge of a specialized track such as space engineering and applications, space science and exploration, and space policy and entrepreneurship, as well as working on a team project. The third semester involves a master's thesis where students conduct a research on a selected topic. The accelerated 1-year MSS non-accredited program has a shorter internship instead. So during the program, though, it's not just all about lectures and exams, but students work in a truly interdisciplinary, intercultural, and international environment with a range of activities such as hands-on workshops, fieldwork. Actually, we just conducted last week with geocaching activities and professional visits to space agencies, industry leaders, and startup companies. This is an innovative approach to space education and the only one of its kind. Second, I would like to share some personal reflections on the impact that ISU has had on my own life, because I am also an ISU alum. Although I recently became dean, I was a participant in the Space Studies program in 2003, and I've been teaching in the SSP program for almost 20 years. And you'll hear about the SSP program soon from Claudia right over here. Similar to many of you, my encounter with ISU was entirely accidental. I was studying for a master's degree at Boston University in the USA and came across a Canadian scholarship program for ISU. I received a scholarship and I thought, why not spend a summer in Europe? What impacted me the most is that I was an environmental scientist and not related to the space sector. I felt entirely out of place. However, I soon discovered the field of satellite applications and how our everyday lives depend on them, and I've never looked back since. Third, you will also often hear about the 3 I's of ISU, in that all programs are interdisciplinary, international, and intercultural. This is our credo of ISU. The impact of ISU on my life has involved a 4th I, which is inspiration. Inspiration to view the world differently, inspiration to see beyond our Earth's orbit, and inspiration to understand different cultures. Most of all, ISU has taught me how to have an open mind, to question my assumptions, and to problem solve in new and creative ways. The message of space is one of cooperation and of not seeing boundaries or borders, to look up in a common direction which is towards the stars. And this is a message that ISU propagates both internally and externally. So my personal advice to all of you is to join us. So join our community in spreading this message of peace, unity, exploration, and adventure. Whether you're looking to simply learn more about space, as I once did, or whether you're looking for a way to get into the space industry, change careers, or augment your current existing career, there is something for everyone at ISU, from short courses, summer programs, to longer degree programs like the Masters. ISU will not only augment your experience and career, but also offer new insights and perspectives. So I personally hope to see many of you in ISU programs in the near future, and that we continue to learn from each other while looking towards the stars and beyond. Thanks very much, and back to you, Dane.
Thanks, Ian. So it sounds like if you're looking for an 18-month program that culminates with an accredited degree, the MSc is really the way to go. But the MSS could also be a really great way to get your foot in the door with a space agency or space industry partner via the internship program. So I think there's a lot of great opportunities with the master's program that you've touched on. But we'd like also for you to briefly hear from a former MSc student, or rather former MSS student, Anissa Kershi, who talks about her experience with the master's program and how it helped to lead to a career in the space sector. So let's have a listen.
But what I have found is the International Space University, which is based in Strasbourg, France. Now, ISU is basically a space school. You have researchers and academics in different space disciplines. You also have astronauts who teach you, people who have trained astronauts. You have guest lecturers from loads of different private space companies all over the world, and it's an international school, so people from all over the world come and study in one place. When I found out about this, I had to go. I knew that this was going to be the next step for me to discover my specialty, but also to introduce myself to that space world. And ISU was an incredible experience. This school literally brings people from all over the world, different backgrounds, qualifications, careers, disciplines, different languages, all in one place, studying together for a year in France, in a region called Alsace. It is quite an intense course. We do projects. We worked on a team project on space tethers at the end, which we presented to NASA and the Chinese Space Agency and the European Space Agency. And just before graduating, I got into iSpace, a lunar space exploration robotics company. As a business analyst there, I met engineers and the first, and at the time, the only, I think, lunar scientist that was working for a private space company, and she was literally like mapping the moon. I think what it made me really excited about was space robotics. I mean, what is this? You can send this autonomous machine to the moon to go and find water, discover it, extract it, and turn it into something else, and be the stepping stone of creating a community on the moon. And that's what iSpace wants to do. They want to partner up with other companies, because if they're going to go to the moon, they're going to have to collaborate with other companies. So they want to create that collaboration to build that community of people living and traveling to the moon. And robots is one of the ways they're going to do that. So one thing to note is that ISU is a holistic master's degree, which means you go through 8 disciplines. These disciplines above. What it does is it applies space to each one of them. But not just that, it doesn't just stop there with those 8 disciplines. You have visiting lecturers coming from all sorts of fields. Space is changing. It's now new space. And here, space is for everyone, literally. If you want to be a musician, you can still be involved in space. If you want to write books, you can still be involved in space. You just apply it to space and you have literally a space for you.
So a big thanks to Anissa for her brief explanation of how the master's program was able to make an impact in her life. But for those of you who are looking to supplement your existing degree or your professional experience with an in-depth training program or even a fairly short training program that will allow you to access the space sector, you might also consider looking into what we call the Space Studies program. And so next I'd like to invite Claudia to tell us a little bit more about the Space Studies program, and in particular the SSP this year in Houston, which is very exciting for us, as it takes place in Houston in conjunction with Rice University and the NASA's Johnson Space Center. So Claudia, I'll hand the floor over to you, and you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Thank you, Dane. Hi, space enthusiasts and curious minds from around the world. I'm Claudia Izaguirre, Director of the Space Studies Program, and it's my pleasure to be here with you to share this incredible opportunity to be part of a life-changing experience. The Space Studies Program, also known as SSP, is the largest, most comprehensive training program in the space sector, covering both technical and non-technical aspects in an international, intercultural, and interdisciplinary setting. Whether you're an expert in your field or new to the space sector, SSP will push you in new ways to expand your knowledge and help you see the space sector You won't just learn about space, you'll get to live in it. Our comprehensive curriculum will expand your knowledge of the space sectors as it covers physical science, engineering, policy, economics, law, business and management, humanities, human performance in space, and space applications. The program features 3 phases. The core phase, where through 55 lectures you'll learn the fundamentals in those fields. The permanent phase, where you'll engage in hands-on workshops to build on the core phase. And then a team projects phase, where you'll develop an innovative and multidisciplinary solutions to a space-related topic, while also developing key competences for interdisciplinary teamwork. The video you're about to see highlights this year's SSP 23 held in São José dos Campos in Brazil. This is just a glimpse of the exciting activities that awaits you at an SSP. You'll get the opportunity to meet world-class faculty and experts from diverse disciplines who are passionate about sharing their knowledge and also shaping the future of space. During an intense 8-week program, more than 200 participants, lecturers, experts, and executives from international space agencies and private companies from over 30 countries will be part of this experience. You'll get the opportunity to connect with like-minded individuals from all over the world. Our program is really a melting pot of cultures and perspectives, which fosters a global network that will last a lifetime. Next year, the Space Studies program will take place in Houston, Texas, which is home of the human space flight, where the heart of exploration comes to life. Imagine being part of a program hosted by NASA's Johnson Space Center and Rice University, 2 institutions that have left a permanent mark on space exploration. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy spoke at Rice University Stadium, challenging the United States to become an international leader in space exploration, and famously stated, "We chose to go to the moon in this decade and do other things not because they're easy, but because they're hard." SSP 24 is an opportunity to walk in the footsteps of pioneers in the space industry, meet those who have ventured beyond our atmosphere, and engage with those paving the path for the future of space exploration. Known as a space city, Houston is one of the epicenters of the space industry, a beacon for innovation, and next year it could be your playground for discovery. The space industry is booming with extraordinary momentum. Private companies are investing in new technology, governments are planning ambitious mission, and at SSP 24, you'll be at the forefront of it all. Next year's dynamic curriculum will expose you to cutting-edge technology, workshops with subject matter experts, distinguished lectures with leaders of the industry, and even opportunities to hear from astronauts. So I encourage you to participate in one of our programs to invest in your development and to forge connections with the brilliant minds of tomorrow. Applications for next year's SSP are open in our website, isunet.edu. Be bold and dare to dream big. Houston is ready to welcome you, and I hope to see you there.
Thanks very much, Claudia. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions, especially as it relates to all of the exciting activities that we have planned in Houston this year. especially in particular, I should say, the site visits that I think we've got planned for our participants in the SSP. Personally, I think that this 2-month program would work really well for recent graduates or professionals who are just looking for a career change, or really just anyone who's looking to get an overview of the space sector while benefiting from the various networking opportunities that will be available during the SSP. But we also offer a 1-week executive space course, which are held throughout the year and all over the world. And so with us we have Geraldine, who's in charge of these programs. And as you heard earlier, recently came back from what we think was a very successful ESC in Oxford, mostly about health and health-related topics in space. So Geraldine, can you tell us a little bit more about these programs?
Of course. Hi, and welcome to the International Space University's Executive Education session. Imagine for a moment the career boost, the business opportunities, and endless possibilities that space exploration and knowledge and upskilling can unlock. My name is Geraldine Moser, a proud ISU alumna from the Executive Space course of 2008, and today's guide on this exciting journey. In the next 5 minutes, I'll take you through a voyage of discovery about ISU short courses. We'll explore who they are for, their benefits, insights from alumni, and how you or your organization can be a part of this transformative experience. Let's begin by envisioning how these courses would revolutionize your understanding of space and enhance your professional journey, whether you're a seasoned space professional or someone with a burgeoning interest in this field. The heart of our program lies in the Executive Space courses, or ESC, as I'll often refer to it. Designed for professionals from diverse backgrounds, be it finance, law, marketing, HR, or engineering, these courses serve as a bridge connecting you to the intricate world of space. Imagine a HR officer effortlessly conversing with a space engineer, or an entrepreneur grasping the vast potential of space markets. Our alumni include luminaries from various sectors, from government agencies to thriving startups. Kendra Horn, a former US Congresswoman and an ESC alumna, described her experience as a great introduction to space in a stimulating international environment. What does the ESC offer? It's a condensed version of our comprehensive programs. My colleagues mentioned the 2-month Space Studies program, or one of the master's programs also. So covering technology, science, business, law, and more. You'll gain not just knowledge, but a valuable network within the global space community. Our typical 4.5-day course covers everything from space environments to business strategies in new space. It's an immersive experience complete with networking events, professional visits, like the Botner Research Institute at Oxford University, and even a chance to meet astronauts and industry leaders. ISU organizes a number of generic or thematic, with a focus on health in space, for example, short courses or on request that are tailored to the specifications of a company or organization. They can be delivered in person, online, or in hybrid format. The excellence and the quality of the program are the same regardless of the format, since the online and in-person academic contents are developed by the same faculty members. Reflecting on my journey, the ESC was a transformative experience, connecting me with a network that has been invaluable throughout my career. And just like some of my ESC classmates, I'm tempted to go on to another program at ISU. ESC is indeed a way of discovering ISU, a teaser which will give you a good insight into ISU and act as a stepping stone towards a longer program. So imagine where this course could take you, changing sectors, landing a promotion, doing a sidestep by going from a technical to a managerial function or more strategic function. ESC participants often pride themselves not with what they have learned for themselves, but with what new knowledge and contacts they can bring to the collectivity and how much they can feed their organization with, and influence topics that then become a company's priority. Also envision yourself as part of a dynamic space-educated community. I invite you to explore this opportunity to expand your professional horizons and to join a network of space enthusiasts and professionals. So let's discuss how ISU can be part of your career story. The upcoming short courses include a 4.5-day focusing on health, earth and space. ISU has partnered with the Metavisionaries and Space Application Services to deliver this course. It is followed in March by a course on space sustainability organized by EPFL Space Center in collaboration obviously with ISU, IMS Space Consultancy and MIT. Upcoming is also a generic executive space course in Oslo, Norway, in collaboration with the Norwegian Space Agency. This course takes place in May 2024. And the United States have recently seen their first space sector crash course. Several will follow in 2024. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to embarking on this exciting journey with you. More information, please stay tuned until the end of this event.
Thanks very much, Geraldine. As you can tell from all of our panelists thus far, ISU offers a fairly comprehensive list of programs that should meet the needs of just about anyone looking to either move into the space sector or just deepen their knowledge of the space sector as it continues to evolve. And so at this point, we'd actually like to hear a little bit from those of you at home to get a little better idea of your background, where it is that you're coming from. So we're launching a poll. You should see it on your screen now, in which we want to ask a little bit about your current situation. So right now, are you a student looking to an educational program that will allow you to move into eventually a career in the space sector? Perhaps you're either a recent or soon-to-be graduate and you're anxiously looking for the next step. But maybe some of you at home are professionals looking to change careers. Maybe you're somebody who's already employed and just quite simply looking to increase your knowledge. But we're also curious if we have tonight with us anyone who is an industry or an organization representative who's perhaps interested in finding education programs that they would be able to use for their own employees or for members of their own organization. So we'll give you just a little bit more time. I see quite a few of you who have already started to respond. So far, it seems that most of you are employed professionals or professionals looking to change careers at some point. So as I think we've already talked about with our SSP or the ESCs, we have a program that is very successful in getting people to help in their transition to the space sector. I see we also have a few current students, a few soon-to-be graduates. So perhaps for you, again, either the SSP might be a great way to go, or perhaps the master's program might be an interesting step for you as well. I see we might have at least one organization or industry representative, so we're glad that you're with us this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. And I think that our executive courses are probably what you might be looking for to help reskill or upskill your current staff members to stay up to speed with the space sector. We'll give you maybe just another moment to respond, but I think we've got just about everyone. And perhaps there are some of you in the chat who have a different situation. I see we have current students again, somebody working in engineering. Great, so we've got a really nice mix of participants here at this session. We're really glad to have you with us. All right. So obviously, though, and actually maybe I'll share the results if those of you at home are interested in seeing what that looks like very briefly, but I'm going to close that now so that we can ask Nassim to tell us a little bit more about admissions and funding, because I imagine that for many of you at home, Funding is probably a major question that's on your mind, on everyone's mind, really. And I think we should spend a little bit of time discussing that, but also how the application process usually works, as well as what kind of opportunities await those who participate in our programs. And so we have Nassim with us, who's the head of admissions and alumni affairs. So Nassim, what should everyone know who's looking to apply to our programs?
Thank you very much, Dane. Hi everyone, I'm Nassim Beauvais, Head of Admissions at Alumni Affairs at ISU, and I'm now going to give you some practical details on how we can apply for our programs. First of all, regarding our eligibility requirements, to attend our Masters, you need to have obtained at least a bachelor's degree, which can be in any field, by the start of the program. To attend our SSP, Space Studies program, by the start of the SSP, you need to have completed at least 3 years of university studies. And of course, you need to be proficient in English to attend any of our programs. As you will see in the Masters and SSP application form on our website, which by the way is the same form for both programs, you will need to explain your motivation to attend the program in an essay, provide a CV, a resume, up to date, a copy of your diplomas, and also your university grade transcripts. You will need to ask at least 2 reference letters from professors or professional supervisors. The Masters of Space Studies 2024-2025 will start at the end of August 2024 in Strasbourg, France. Its version with internship costs 27,000 euro and lasts 13 months, with a 3-month internship, while this version with thesis costs 32,000 euro and lasts 18 months, including a 6-month thesis. These fees cover tuition only. The Space Studies Program 2024 in Houston will start on the 8th of June 2024, which will be the arrival day of the participants, and end on the 3rd of August 2024, which will be the departure day of the participants. The SSP price is 20,000 euro, and this includes all tuition, housing, and all meals during the 8 weeks of the program. Thanks to our generous sponsors, we have partial scholarships available for eligible candidates from all countries. So please indicate in your application if you are in need of financial support, and we will do our best to help you. In terms of application deadlines, candidates who are in need of financial aid for the Masters 2024-2025 or the SSP 2024 need to complete their application by the 31st of January 2024 in order to be certain to be considered for scholarships. After that date, remaining scholarships will be granted on a first-come, first-served basis until they run out. And the final application date for the Masters and the SSP is the 30th of April 2024. Finally, a few words about our alumni. Since the founding of ISU 36 years ago, as we mentioned before, more than 5,600 space enthusiasts from over 110 countries have graduated from one or for some several of our programs. And they now work everywhere in the space sector, in space agencies, space industries, and many other space organizations worldwide. Some of them are astronauts, such as Jessica Meir, Soyoni, Jim Newman, who have already flown in space, or 2 others who are about to fly in space. They are currently training, Catherine Benel-Peg and Tuva Sihangir Atesever. Others are space agencies leaders. We've had leaders of many of the European space agencies or the Australian Space Agency, for example, who are alumni of ISU. We also have many founders of highly successful space startups. There are countless space organizations employing ISU alumni, and so I can only name a few here. I'm also actually a master alumni, a graduate of ISU, and just to give you a hint, one of my classmates is the co-founder of Planet. So it's just an example of what ISU can produce. So now a few names of organizations which employ ISU graduates. The European Space Agency and NASA are very significant employers of ISU graduates, but we have also many other space agencies from France, from the UK, from Italy, from Japan, from Canada, from Germany, Portugal, or Australia. This is for the space agencies, but there are also all the space companies. SpaceX, Blue Origin, Planet, Spire, Virgin Galactic, Airbus, Boeing, Lockheed Martin are just some of the many organizations employing ISU graduates. Thank you very much for your attention. I will be happy to answer any question which you may have regarding admissions at the end of this event.
Okay, thanks, Nassim. I think what you said about the alumni program, or excuse me, the alumni networks, is particularly interesting because it shows that our programs really do make a difference in getting people into the sector. As we said before, we have managers in a number of agencies or industries who are looking for ISU graduates to bring into their organizations. And in addition to that, on top of just simply bringing people in, they're also eager to form collaborations between agencies or even businesses. So there's a lot of opportunities that exist via this alumni network. So far, we've heard a lot about ISU programs, but I'm sure many of you considering the MSc program are also curious about what it's like moving to France, living in Strasbourg, attending classes at the ISU Central Campus. And so sitting next to me right now, there we are, is one of our current MSc students, Ollie, who's going to join us for just a moment to chat with us a little bit about the MSc. So thank you, Ollie, for joining us. I appreciate you taking your time out of what I know is a very, very busy schedule. But so yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
My first question for you is what was it that made you decide to come to ISU and move to France?
That's a fantastic question. Well, it was hard for me as an Englishman to move to France. You know, we have a bit of a rivalry.
Yeah, of course.
But no, a friend of mine who interned actually at the European Space Agency Astronaut Corps Centre, he really mentioned that a lot of his colleagues knew about ISU, and he'd known I was interested in space for some time, and I was studying environmental science, a master's at the time, and I really wanted to find a way to shoehorn these two things together. And he found a way to send a link to a UK Space Agency scholarship. I applied, and here I am.
And here you are. And how's your experience been so far at
Yeah,
ISU?
it's really good. I mean, many jokes from friends of mine who worked in the space industry said that ISU is the University of insufficient sleep. All jokes aside, it's a tight schedule, but it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
The wide range of topics we've covered is unprecedented, and you know, some of the unique and niche fields we've covered are something I never have considered.
Sure. And would you say that, so this interdisciplinary aspect, of course, as you're saying, is very much present in our program.
Sure.
And I think that's been a little bit of a challenge for you. Would you say that's going to be a challenge for somebody who doesn't have a science or a STEM background at all? Or are these classes nevertheless accessible?
So originally, before I did an environmental science degree, I was in policy anyway.
Okay.
And so it was a bit of a step up for me in my previous MSc. I thought ISU really did a great job of making the more difficult classes, especially things like astrodynamics. You know, for someone who studies something like law, that's a new field to get into.
That's a big jump. Yeah.
And they did a really good job of making that accessible, you know, and sitting down and making sure the concepts really got through to you. I mean, before we started the interdisciplinary classes, we had what was known as fundamentals, where the university identifies what they feel are subjects you could improve in, and maybe that will give you a bit more knowledge for the next phase of the course. And I think it's probably the only university that I've known that actively identifies where they think you could improve so you can keep up with the program.
Sure.
And that in itself really, really helped. So a lot of people who came from, say, law backgrounds, they came out of physics loving it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that it prepared us very, very well.
Well, that's very good. And I think maybe part of the reason for that, or the reason we're able to do that, is perhaps because we do have relatively small classes. So, you know, our faculty are able to dedicate a lot of time to, you know, one person, for instance, identify what it is that they need in terms of making that jump from, say, humanities background or policy, law, even in the STEM field, making that jump to space can be considerable. And so that's great to hear that's been working out okay so far. But I'm sure a lot of people at home are probably wondering about making the move to France. I mean, that's got to be a big thing that's on everybody's mind. you're not coming to us from very far away. You were in the UK. However, of course, we had Brexit. And so visas were maybe a little bit complicated to have to work through. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience, going through all the steps of getting a visa, coming to France, making the actual move itself? Was that a challenge for you? How were you able to handle that?
Well, moving anywhere is a challenge, so especially when you're moving abroad, it's not going to be necessarily easy. But I would say that first of all, the websites on France, as well as ISU's support staff, are always available to help you if you are struggling with specific things, because filling in a visa application for anyone, irrespective of where you're going, is not a simple process. But aside from those sorts of things, I think moving to France was a lot simpler than I anticipated, which I appreciated, because previous to, as you said, Brexit, it was even easier than that. So the challenge was a lot more surmountable than I thought. So
okay, that's good. And so, follow-up question: Do you speak French?
Un petit peu.
Okay, so coming to France, not necessarily mastering the language. I imagine that was also a little bit of a challenge, or was that okay?
No, I must admit it was a challenge. I mean, none of my housemates speak English really, so we have to communicate in broken French and broken English. But actually, I really enjoy that challenge, because it takes you a little bit out of the academic side of things. When you're focusing on astrodynamics and the legal aspects of space, which are rather confusing, and you can focus more on just the base levels of communication, which I really just appreciate as almost like an academic side project.
Sure.
So, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So for me, it may seem like a challenge, but Strasbourg is also quite an international city.
Yeah. So it's possible.
Yeah.
You've been able to get around without necessarily mastering the language. You've been able to make yourself understood.
Absolutely.
Filling out the visa application, you were able to work that out, even though you didn't speak French necessarily.
Yeah. I feel the translations are sometimes a bit peculiar, but usually if you run that through a few softwares, you get a adequate translation.
So you were able to get documents that were already translated to English, for instance.
Yes. On their websites, there's a translate function right at the top, so it's pretty convenient.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Strasbourg. You said it's an international city, and so the language hasn't been particularly challenging for you because it is such an international city. I want to ask you about your life so far in Strasbourg. How's it been? Do you enjoy living in the city, or maybe you don't enjoy certain things about the city? Feel free to be open. We're happy to hear whatever it is that you have to say, but. So I'll let you. How has your experience so far in Strasbourg?
Sure. So we study a lot, first of all.
Yeah.
So I want to make that really clear that I spent a lot of time at ISU and going back from home. So that's a big point. But I also do fundamentally love Strasbourg. I'm a big fan of older cities. I used to live in a city out in Estonia. It was very similar in its composition, and then so when it was built, and it's incredible. I mean, the Le Petit France, etc., are just. They're UNESCO World Heritage Sites for a reason. Yeah. So they are really, really fantastic. And the general canals, for those who are interested in cycling, like myself, are incredible. You can cycle at least 15, 20 kilometers outside the city with just brilliant views. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of what Strasbourg has to offer the city, and the beer is good because it's near Germany. So that helps too.
Only in moderation.
Alongside your studies.
Yeah, exactly right. As a cyclist myself, I can confirm that the cycling here is really terrific. The canals will take you just about anywhere you want to go. To either nearby villages or even larger towns. It's pretty incredible from that perspective. So I know that you're studying a lot. I know that you're not necessarily able to have a whole lot of free time, but is there anything that you've been able to enjoy doing other than cycling or visiting the city? What do you like to do in your free time, if you have any?
Well, I'm a big fan of sports mainly. I mean, we have a dedicated sports officer who's one of our students here, and he keeps us very, very fit and in shape. So we play a lot of football. We also have a ping pong table that
I've heard about the ping pong tournaments.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I've never really played ping pong, absolutely terrible, and now I'm somewhat okay, so that's good. And it's a good way to let off the stress. So I appreciate that. But aside from that, I mean, hiking around the local area is fantastic. I mean, Alsace is incredibly beautiful, and especially if you just go 50-40 kilometers outside of Strasbourg, you can find some wonderful places to hike when the weather's good, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Which in this part of France it rains a bit, but that's okay for an Englishman. It's no change.
Thanks very much. So can you tell us maybe a little bit about what you're hoping to do after ISU? What's the next step for you?
Yeah, of course. It's a big question, and coming to ISU is one of the reasons, or it's sort of informed that. I'm thinking of moving into a PhD in space applications and environment, probably informed hopefully by an internship around the European Space Agency, if not a thesis in a similar related subject. And then eventually I'd like to begin a PhD for someone like the British Antarctic Survey in space applications for environment.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you once more for taking the time to speak with us today. I think that's been very helpful for the people at home, considering coming to ISU, but who are maybe still feeling a little bit nervous about the idea of coming to France and moving, especially for those who might not necessarily master the language. So that was very insightful, I think, for us and for those of us who are at home. So once again, I want to wish you the very best of luck for the rest of your studies, and I'll see you around campus.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thanks.
Bye.
All right, so I'd like to move on to our question and answer portion now of this session. I know I have a few questions myself that I've prepared already, but I see that we've got lots of questions from those of you at home already. Don't hesitate to keep sending us your questions if you have them, or if you think of something as we're continuing the discussion. I'll do my best to make sure that we get your questions answered, but unfortunately, as I look at my watch, we are limited on time, so we'll answer a few of these questions here live, but as I said earlier, we'll also be providing you with our contact information so that you can send us your questions, and we'll make sure that we get responses, and we'll keep this conversation going. So I'm scanning through some of the questions that we've had so far. We've got one question, for instance, from Sandra, who asks about students who are coming to ISU with a humanities background. And I think this is a really great question because we do have students who come to us with a humanities background. And Sandra asks, what kind of jobs are awaiting students who come to ISU with a humanities background? What are they able to do in the space sector? So I'll ask that to everybody, but I think Nassim, you of course are alumni, but I'll let any of you on the panel address that question.
Yeah, we have many alums coming from non-technical backgrounds, and they are of course very welcome at ISU. And I can give, for example, two examples. We have, for example, journalists who can study at ISU and become space journalists. So, I have a very good example in mind, our friend Remco Timmermans, who is now at all the main space events and doing his job as a space journalist. But we also have some artists, for example, who came to ISU and became space artists. These are just a couple of examples. Maybe my colleagues have more.
No, anyone else come to mind?
We have one IOFI that is currently doing an internship at the European Space Policy Institute in Vienna. That is their artist in residence, and is working into setting up new ways in communicating about space. Because one thing is talking to the space community, and when you want to talk to the society at large, the way artists provide information messages is completely different, and that's very seen as valuable for the host institution, and they are really happy about her stay there. And yeah, that's what is interesting about the ISU class. There is this diversity of background, but also aspiration and experience and expertise, and that's comes very handy. We also had architects in all of our classes, so there's room for everyone.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you both for your responses. We have another question regarding scholarships. I'm sorry, Nassim, I think we're going to be asking you quite a few questions during this session. But we have one question in particular about scholarships. Are international students I mean, obviously we're a pretty international organization, but are scholarship opportunities limited based on nationality, or can just about anybody get a scholarship at ISU?
We have, thanks to our generous sponsors, we have scholarships available sometimes from dedicated citizenships. For example, the European Space Agency, we give, of course, scholarships to citizens of ESA member states, but we have many other sources. And for the countries where we don't have an external source of funding, well, ISU provides some of its own funds to make sure we offer partial scholarships to every candidate who is in need of it.
Fantastic. And I understand, Nicolas, I'm not sure if we can talk about this quite yet, but I understand that we're doing some work to further space nations which are just emerging. So we have various nations around the world which are just starting to develop their space programs, and I think that we're starting to develop programs where we can offer scholarships for those types of people coming from those types of countries.
Exactly, as Nassim mentioned, we are fortunate to have generous sponsors and people that do care about providing the chance of educating the future workforce of the space sector. And as I said, geography is not a limit for talent, but sometimes it limits opportunities. And we are fortunate to have people, and I recognize someone on the call right now that is providing support in the future for students coming from least developed countries. And we are in discussion with our partnership with the United Nations Office of Outer Space to put that into motion, and that would be the one of its kind. That means we have the UN, we have an entity providing a scholarship for students to join the program, and ISU making that happening, really providing a merit-based scholarship for people coming from places where usually they dream about space, but they cannot launch their career into space.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. I see here we have another question about the various topics that are taught at ISU courses. I think this is probably a pretty big question. Luckily, we have an interdisciplinary group among us. I know that we do a lot of diverse courses throughout these programs, whether we're talking about the MSc, the MSS, the SSP, or the ESCs. But I wonder if we could respond to this question a little bit about the main topics that are taught at ISU programs. I'm going to direct this to you, Suyin, to begin with, since you are our dean and perhaps best situated to address this first, and then if anybody else has anything to add, by all means.
Sure. So I think that as you heard from the many people around this panel, that one of the main principles here is the 3 I's of ISU. And one of those I's is interdisciplinary. So all of our programs, one of the hallmarks of ISU is that we do teach a range of topics. And it's not just about the sciences, it's not just about humanities, for example, but everyone gets exposure to all of these disciplines. And the reason for that is that when you're dealing with space, is that space is a very interdisciplinary field where we have all people coming together to complete space missions, work with space applications, and so on. So our 7 disciplines that we typically address in all of our programs includes humanities, engineering, management and business, policy, economics, law, space applications, there's humanities, and there is the
physical
engineering.
Science,
Thank
life
you.
science. Yeah.
Life sciences, which we also call as human performance in space. And so there's a whole variety of topics. As you can tell, we cover the whole entire range that's related to space studies. What's also really important to recognize about our curriculum is not only the variety of topics, but also the variety of activities as well. So we really emphasize on experiential learning here at ISU, which means also learning by doing. So we do have many lectures, core lectures in the Space Studies program, and the MSS. We have fundamentals, we have principles lectures, but we also complement that with hands-on workshops as well. You heard about the professional visits, field activities, field work as well. And so there's a whole variety of activities to gain experience with different aspects of space.
Fantastic. Great. I hope that answered your question at home. Is there anybody else who wants to add anything to that? Of course, we have a very diverse program, but I think that you've pretty much covered the main topics that we are discussing and within our really all of our programs at ISU. I see a number of comments, a couple in particular from those who are attending the ESCs, not necessarily questions, but we have one, for instance, from a pharmacist who attended the ESC in Oxford and said it was a very nice experience. So I think that goes to show that the Health in Space was a good program and one that's worth continuing, I think.
Thank you for this comment.
Yeah. We have another question about scholarships, about what the scholarships cover in terms of expenses. Also, we have questions about, of course, there's a question about how much. It's never easy, I think, to really give a number figure to these questions, but we have questions about whether or not we're offering full scholarships or only partial scholarships. Do we ever offer full scholarships? So Nassim, I'll send this off to you. First, maybe we'll start with what did the scholarships cover? And then we'll move on from there.
Yeah, just first to be clear, we don't offer full scholarships because we have many candidates and limited funding, so our scholarships are partial. The amount depends on each application, so I would suggest you apply and then you will receive a scholarship offer. But usually they're not full. In the case of the master, they only cover a part of the tuition fees. In the case of the space studies program, remember that everything is included, accommodation, meals, everything. So it covers a part of all of this, basically.
Okay. So in other words, our scholarships are available for really any of the programs. If we're talking about the SSP, it's going to cover the tuition costs, which includes room and board. On the other hand, if you're looking into the MSS or the MSc programs, the scholarships will cover the tuition costs, part of the tuition costs. But of course, room and board is something to have to think about separately. Okay, thank you very much. I see another question. Again, Nassim, you're a popular guy this afternoon, this evening. We have another question about the number or the percentage of students who come to ISU, attend our programs, and end up in the space industry. Do we have statistics on that? You know, what kind of percentages do our of former students end up actually working in the sector?
Yes, so we have done studies, and the number which regularly comes back is about 80%. About 80% of our graduates work in the space sector.
And maybe just to add, for the current MSS cohorts that gonna graduate, the master student cohort that gonna graduate in 2 weeks, the last time I counted was more than 60% of the students doing their internship had a job before finishing the internship. So 80% in the sector, but because of the program, we had them to find appropriate internship because we have a good entry point in most space agencies, but also big industry companies or academia. And then for this year's graduating class, 60% already have a job or a PhD program or whatever they want to do before graduating. So I think this is also important.
Mm-hmm. And that actually is a really nice segue into our next question, which is one of that's fairly just practical. How does that work? So our ISU students or participants come to our programs. How is it that they go about getting their foot into the door, either during the program or after the program? How does that generally happen for our past participants or students?
So first we have someone dedicated to student affairs that is there to help students identify potential target, but maybe Suyin will talk also about the skill set that they learned in the program to develop CVs and interviews and things like that. But also what we do regular speed dating type of exercise with the faculty and all the students to help them, to prepare them for interview. Depending on the interviews, for instance, myself, I did coaching of students that applied at the European Space Agency, and some of them, in fact, all of them that I coached were selected to help them to prepare for the interview, guide them. But I know that people in the faculty are doing like that. But maybe Sweden, we also have a specific model or set of activities there to provide support to the students in the program as well.
Yeah, that's right, Nicholas. So there's, depending on the program that we're in, of course, all the programs are of different lengths. So we have our really short courses, like the executive space courses that Geraldine talked about. And there's executives who basically, it's a great networking opportunity from people from different sectors to get to know each other. We have a variety of visiting lecturers as well who we get to know. There's a whole interaction piece that occurs not just during lectures, but also outside of lectures. In the SSP program, for the Space Studies program, we have networking activities. There's an alumni conference that typically happens during the program. That is also a really great opportunity to get to know members of the community. That's where a lot of networking happens as well. The SSP is also a form of a professional development program in itself. So we have a great variety of visiting lecturers who are on site, and also it depends on the host site as well. And that's also a unique feature of ISU programs, especially with the SSP, that basically moves around to different host sites. Quite often it comes to Strasbourg as well. And depending on the host site, that there's also a great opportunities to understand the local host and the local space sector as well in various countries. Of course, with the masters is that you've heard about the internships that occur, but not only the internships is that we also have a variety of visiting lecturers who come on site as well, and they're able to stay for a while and interact with the students in a variety of activities from lectures to workshops. And I think it's also important to emphasize, and I think everyone around here will agree, that a really great benefit of being part of ISU is being part of the alumni network once you complete a program. And this is something that ISU is really well known for. We have a really great community. It is a huge network that, as you've heard, there are alumni who have become astronauts, who have become space agency heads as well. And once you're into this alumni network, that you'll find that space is actually a very small community where everyone knows each other, and a vast majority of the space community is part of the ISU network. So you tap into that network, and here at ISU we also have a global faculty network which has over 160 faculty from adjunct levels to associate to full faculty levels. And what that means is that they also contribute to the programs teach, mentor. So there's a lot of opportunities to network and get to know people in the industry.
Great, yeah. Just to add to that, I think what's interesting is you mentioned how small the space community is. I myself come from the aviation industry, which was already a very, very small community where everyone knows each other, and via these networking opportunities was really how people got into the jobs that they have. And space is even smaller in terms of an industry. And so these networking opportunities that you have as part of these programs are, of course, very valuable. And quite simply, the professors that you'll be meeting during these programs are there to help mentor and get people into the industry. So thank you very much. I'm looking at the clock, and I see we're starting to run out of time. I do have one last question that I'd like to address to our panelists, if that's all right with you all. And this comes from Caroline, who asks about benefits of ISU programs that extend beyond the space sector itself. This is to say, what can an ISU participant bring to environments outside of the space sector? Are there skills that could potentially apply to other sectors, or perhaps to other areas that apply to their lives, maybe? I wonder if our panelists could speak to that question a little bit. What can ISU bring to people that goes beyond just the space sector itself?
So if it's okay with everyone, maybe I'll start.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Because this is a question that's actually really close to my heart, because as I mentioned before, that I originally came from the non-space sector. So similar to Ollie, our master's student who was interviewed, I came from the environmental science sector, so I'm very much more Earth-oriented. And there are huge applications for space technologies outside of the space sector. And in actual fact, our everyday life life is really dependent on space technologies these days. I mean, from the internet to our cell phone services to our TVs and so on. And so it's really important that we're finding here at ISU to not only speak within the space community, but to also speak outside of the space community. And so if any of you online are not in the space sector, or maybe space is something that's really new for you, I promise you that once you join an ISU program, that you will start seeing the relevance that space had to your own life and to your own areas of interest as well.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree more, Suyin. And if we think of all the team projects that our graduates produce during ISU programs, you have everything about regarding climate change, for example. The sustainability is something extremely important for ISU, and ecology, of course, and so this can really help people around the world, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I will add to that aside from the very expansion of the perspective in space that you will add, if you go back to a field that it's not space related, being part of these programs do develop skills that are very valuable when you are in the workforce. Like if you're going to be working with international partners, knowing how to work with international partners, knowing how to work in an interdisciplinary team. So all of those skills, even if you don't choose not to stay in the space sector, which we hope you do, you still can take all of the valuable things that you will learn from an experience in one of our programs into pretty much anywhere in your career.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm afraid that we are all out of time. I see that there are a lot of questions remaining, though, so I apologize we weren't able to get to your question. But as I said earlier, do feel free to contact us after this session. We do want to keep this conversation going as much as possible. So if you do have questions about a specific program, you now know who to ask. If you've got questions about our alumni network or about admissions, same thing, don't hesitate to reach out to us so that we can get you the information that you need and as I said, keep this conversation going. So Nicolas, Suyin, Geraldine, Nassim, I would like to thank each of you for your participation on our panel today. And of course, a very special thank you goes out to our technical team, who you at home cannot see, but have been working very, very hard to make this event happen. So I'd also like to thank Nicolas and Antoine, who are waving at me, but as I said, you can't see them, unfortunately. So a big thank you to them. If you're interested in learning more about our programs, admissions, or scholarships, please visit our website or send us a message, info@isunet.edu. That email address will be shown on the slide here in the end. We are here to help you in any way that we can. So this wraps up today's Digital Open House session. Once again, I'd like to thank all of our panelists. I'd also like to thank you at home for your participation, for your questions, and quite simply for being here with us today. We look forward to seeing you at ISU programs and perhaps even at the ISU Central Campus very soon. Thanks again. See you around.